What's up, everybody? It's Jacob coming to you from an undisclosed location near the Rocky Mountains in Denver, Colorado. Boy, what a week, what a week. a lot of crazy stuff going on. World's on fire, for sure. Like everybody else, I thought I would put my 2 cents in on the Charlie Kirk shooting, but I wanted to wait a couple days. And mainly because what I was seeing as far as the information that was getting out there with the videos and the pictures of the would-be assassin at that time, which ended up being the guy, I figured that it was probably going to be like 3, maybe 4 days tops before they were going to catch the guy. And a lot of things they were saying in the media strongly suggested to me that they were using a ton of AI to basically figure out as much as they could about this guy for 2 reasons. One, to do due diligence and collect evidence so that when they did catch him, that they could basically just prosecute him and do what they got to do with him with the law, but also to position it so that, which is usually how these things go, have enough information out there without compromising the case, but to make it clear who this person was so that someone would eventually see him and turn him in. That's usually how these things go. And so I thought it would be interesting because this is what I do on this channel is I talk about AI and all the different effects on society and all the different tools and things and how they're used here and there. Although I don't really do demos or get too technically deep, it's just more about the societal stuff. Which, by the way, if you want to see me do more more like how-tos and demos, let me know. I just in the past when I make those, didn't really get a lot of views, but there's just been a lot of weird stuff going on with the algorithm lately. So it's kind of just been, I don't know, everything's just been out of whack. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, they were building a case, but they also wanted to put out enough information so that they could have somebody turn him in. And there were a couple of weird things that they were doing with the types of images and videos they were putting out, which suggested to me that they were trying not to blow their case, but the way they were, the kind of pictures they chose, they didn't show a lot of his face. Is always very obscured. And I think what they were doing is they were trying to push body posture and weird angles of like his jawline and stuff like that, so that like family members and people that know, that like really know him, would go, yeah, that's the guy. So I know that's odd. I'm not as much of a big conspiracy theorist as maybe I purport to be with my X-Files and Yeti and Alien Bust, but yeah, I think it was a very pragmatic approach, and there are a lot of reasons why they did what they did, and so I kind of want to avoid a lot of the misinformation that was put out there, because this is another thing that happens too with these things, is like I knew once they caught the guy, there's going to be spin on both sides of the political spectrum, causing all this confusion, and trying to manipulate the algorithms, and even to a degree like affect history by what the AI ingests. So basically impose a bias on AIs when in the future you search on these things to maintain the narrative. And but anyway, that's a whole different video, which maybe I'll look at that. But I wanted to play back some bits and pieces of the news conference and point out some things that they said. And I also going to show you some examples of how you would teach an AI to recognize objects, persons, all kinds of different things, and then how they can be tracked, which is just one thing they did, just one tiny layer of the entire thing. So before I move on here, let's go into the chat. Let's see who's here tonight. By the way, I'm assuming no one's complaining they can't hear me. Normally I ask to put a 1 in the chat, but my levels are good. No one complains, so I'll just keep going. Let's see. We had Lily check in earlier. Oh no, Lily came back. Hey, that's right. You were talking to me about in the comment section that we were talking about drones and private, and I kind of was talking about how there's certain levels of privacy and how far are people to go. And we'll talk more about that later on. Because a lot of things that I was hearing in the news, that people were arguing for the same world that the United Kingdom is going through right now. A lot of the rhetoric that I was hearing ends up being the other side of the same coin. That's what's happening in the UK right now. Because I remember I mentioned in the comment section, I think it was on the post for this video. Let me pull that up, which is tonight's theme, the AI Dragnet. Kind of call on an old method that they used to do when they would all link their hands together and just go down the street and gather all the witnesses and do their detective work in real time in the old days. But you were, I think this is, we were talking about, not to call you out or anything, but yeah, what I said was, I don't know if you can see it in the screen. Yeah, it's kind of cut off. But I responded to your question that, it's a difficult topic. How much privacy do we have a right to in the name of safety and protecting freedom of speech? The same tools could very easily be turned against citizens of a nation, the same tools they're using now to find the perpetrator. But these same tools could be turned against the citizens of a nation by just an election. Any new administration that comes in, they change their idea of what it is. Another classic example of that is when the planes hit the towers. Speaking of 9/11, never forget, the Patriot Act was shortly passed, pretty much unanimously, fully bipartisan, the whole bit. And the argument in the media was, well, these powers that we're giving, even though there's like a sunset on that law, they kept renewing the sunset. They kept pushing it out. And the Patriot Act is still in effect today. And those powers that we gave the government to use the tools that they were monitoring, which, may not have been AI then, maybe a little bit, but not the types of AI we have today. But you bet your bippy, to use one of my grandpa's old terms, you bet your bippy that AI is in the toolbox now. It's in the toolkit now. And even what Snowden was talking about in 2010, when he basically tattletaled on the NSA, saying, "Look, y'all, they're recording the internet, and they can play it back and go back. They may not be able to spot what you're doing right now, but they can go back and look at all the bread trails and basically replay the entire internet to find out what happened that led up to an event." Now they have the tools to watch in real time, and they've already shown, private companies at least, where they use the AIs. I kind of noticed that they were using the AIs to watch us, if you will, on YouTube. I'd say during pandemic was the first time it really became obvious, where I did make a video on this very early on the channel before I blew up. It was a channel update, and I was talking about how YouTube, and these dots all connect, trust me, how YouTube has multiple AIs that do different things, that monitor, filter. And that's why a lot of times, those of us that are creators, you'll see us talk and go, "Hey, I'm getting blacklisted," or what is it, a shadow ban, and all, those terms. And what that was is the AI just automatically going, "Oh, you said a keyword." And you remember during the macaronia, I don't even know if I can still say that word, which to my point is that people were speaking in code. You couldn't even say the Rona. You couldn't talk about certain topics, and you were constantly getting little Wikipedia cards in the bottom of your content. And that was all automated by AI. And then, if your channel got demonetized or you got like ticks against you, you would like supposedly file an appeal, and there was supposedly a human coming into the loop and interacting with that. So I kind of want to talk about how some of these same tools can be used to catch an assassin. And actually, the fact that it happened on a campus with a bunch of Gen Zers and maybe Gen Alpha's too young, but like Gen Zers with their phones out, everybody recording everything, there's enough data to find out what the hell is going on. And if you're new to this channel, you may not have heard me talk about AI like this before, but I've often described it as it's just simply a software program that solves a data problem. That's all AI is. It devours data, and it has this uncanny ability to recognize patterns that we can't see at scale as humans. And that's the simplest non-technical explanation that I can give of our current flavor of AI, like the the large language models, talking to ChatGPT, those kinds of things. There are many other forms of AI, but those probably weren't being used on this case. So I'm going to show you some examples of how they would teach the AI what Tyler looked like. And then they would probably go back to the AI and say, "Okay, now that you know who this person is, find them in all these images and videos that we feed into you." That's just one layer. And there's also text. Basically, it's multimodal. They feed text, they feed images and videos, which is basically just images repeating, right? 30 frames per second, for example, to make a video work. It's really all it is. So anyway, let me just go in the chat here, see if anybody else chimed in. Let's see. Oh, hey, Rexus, welcome. Yeah, I don't know about that, brother. What you're saying here. Yeah. On one side, they try and spin it, but honestly, this is I think we're beyond that in culture right now. I won't get into all of that because it opens doors. I just want to talk about the AI part. But let's see here. Lily, thanks for coming on. I know it's late where you are in the UK, and of course we've got the big demonstration going on. Saw some videos of the cops, using the bobby sticks. I don't know what you call them over there, but like, just popping people upside the head and the legs and stuff. BS. But yeah, it just kind of reminds me of the soccer hooligan days in the 80s with them wearing the flag of St. George and chanting. Totally just looks like it could be right after they got out of a soccer game. Let's see. What were you saying? Oh yes, because we were talking about the drone. You're saying you wondered why Charlie's team didn't make use of a drone for checking roofs before his talk, but there was a drone apparently who was operating it. Heavy duty country latest vid is worth a watch. Yeah, I mean drones are you can buy a drone on Amazon and just throw one up yourself. I lived in an apartment complex during the macaroni before I got this place, and there was some person that was flying a drone around and like looking in people's windows and being a menace. Yeah, I had a baseball bat. I'm just gonna say that. He had to order another one. It was not a very big one, but yeah, drones are readily available, honestly. So, who knows? It could have just been somebody that wanted to get who had a channel and just wanted to get a vantage point. But yeah, certainly for security, it's a very inexpensive way to get up there and check the roofs. And here we are again last July with Trump and the assassination attempt in Butler. There was a big question of like, why was there not a drone checking everything? So it seems like these days there's just a lot of comedy of errors. But you also look at how a lot of the cities are being run. Not to get political, it's almost like they make money off people living in fear and the cops being, with their hands tied back. Somebody's making money. Sawdust there. Anyway, doing some work before I ran in here. That's why I was a little late. But yeah, so yeah, I think a lot of these bluer cities, they're making money off the turmoil. They were getting probably the COVID money's drying up, and they're starting to realize it, and they're panicking. And we're going to start to see more cities with their budgets start to be like way over the top, just be totally in the red. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're here to talk about how AI was used at scale to catch or at least to get enough information to build a case, but have images out there that could trigger people's recognition and turn them in. That was the plan all along, because I think they knew once they saw that video that they put out where he's jumping off the roof and he ran away and went off into the woods and dumped his firearm back there. They knew that he was gone, long gone. It was a manhunt after that. Oh, thanks, Homefront. I appreciate you coming out. Thanks for the like. Yeah, Raymond's the hardest working guy I know on YouTube. So yeah, I hope things turn around for all of us. It's just been really rough. Definitely the views are much lower these days. So let me pull up something here real quick. I just want to see if I can find. I just want to show you this. Well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about. I want to show you this might be a bit of a jump scare, so don't freak out when I show you this red hair dye thing here. But that's not what this video is. But this is actually, it's a 60 minutes report that they talk about how the big AI companies are using massive labor in Kenya to categorize the things that the AI ingests. So I don't want to talk about the ethics behind cheap labor and exploiting people overseas, because we all know that story. That's been going on. But I want to show you what their job was and kind of how they did it. So let me just jump here to a frame. I thought I had it. YouTube loaded on me. Here we go. So this gentleman would probably be in the middle of him talking about the other thing about this report too is that like their culture, they're much more conservative there, and they were not only being exploited for cheap labor, but they were also like freaking out over like the weird shit that they were seeing that they had to go, no, that's bad. Don't, train the AI on that. So there actually are people to a degree that tell the AI, hey, this is not something we want you to ingest in your system and think that is good. They don't even like tell it that it's bad. They just don't put it in. So let's watch this a little bit, and I'll pause here. This is Fair Use YouTube. I am transforming this work with my commentary. Here we go.
It looks like this is black, this is Asian. You're teaching the AI to identify them.
Right.
Okay, so with the accent, he's talking about how we are teaching the AI to identify things.
Automatically.
Humans tag cars and pedestrians to teach autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, so tagging. So what's happening here is humans literally draw these shapes around the objects. And then they tell the AI or tag this object and say, this is a woman wearing a backpack crossing the street. This is a parked car, et cetera, et cetera. But let's continue on.
Not to hit them. Humans circle abnormalities to teach AI to recognize diseases.
This is a medical application.
Even as AI is getting smarter, humans in the loop will always be needed because there will always be new devices and inventions that'll need labeling.
Okay, so now I want you to pay attention. You see these shapes around the objects. Now watch as the objects move in the video. The shapes follow along.
You find these humans in the loop.
I'll rewind that again.
Labeling.
See over here?
You find these humans in the smarter. Humans in the loop will always be needed because there will always be new devices and inventions that'll need labeling. You find these humans in the loop not only here in Kenya, but in other countries thousands of miles from Silicon Valley, in India, the Philippines, Venezuela, often countries with large, low-wage populations.
All right, so I just kind of wanted to show you, yeah, thanks for coming out, Rexus. But yeah, I'm not trying to make this about Charlie Kirk per se. I'm trying to make this more about the FBI and how they use these tools. But thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. So this tagging thing is really important for images and video. And part of what the FBI does is, I don't have it queued up, but I'm assuming you watched one of the press release announcements or the press announcements where they talked about how much, this is what keep me out there using AI. They were talking about how they received 7,000 pieces of media that they had sent in to the FBI tips site. So they had a portal that they set up, and pretty much everybody in that area, I'm sure, uploaded a video, a picture, or probably all pictures, all videos, and fed it in. So the FBI had all this information. And the fact that it was 33 hours by the time they apprehended the guy, 7,000 pieces of information, video and photos. There's no way humans could have collated all of that and scanned all of that to find the perpetrator. There's no way, absolutely no way that they could have done that in 32 hours without an AI. So they found let me see here if I can find the other, yeah. So we've got this guy here. He's really cool. Jesus Enrique Rosas is a body language expert, and he was talking about different things about the perpetrator. But he had some good clips. But once they had this, once they kind of had an idea, because they saw the guy running, off the building here. So let me see if I can find the yeah. So this video here, when they saw him running across that stairwell that he's in is nearby this building. So they correlated that. So once the humans said, okay, that's our guy, they drew their nice boxes around and tagged Mr. Robin here, and told the AI, this is what we want you to find in all the images and all the videos that we uploaded. And but that's only one layer. So the AI could very easily 7,000 videos and images, no problem. AI could have just done that in a matter of minutes, maybe an hour at the most. Very fast once they identified them. Let's see here. And then there was this other interesting video. Something else they look at here where he's walking, like his gait and his body posture. They can tell the AI, not with this video, but let me see if there was this other one where he was, I think it was a TMZ video where he was walking in front of in front of this Ring camera here. There was another one. Yeah, right here in front of the yard. They trained the AI on his gait. So once they had a nice video of him walking, they could wireframe him, and they put there's dots on his body, kind of like what they train for video games. It's similar technology. They have his gait, and now that gives the AI another layer on video to identify who this gentleman is. So yeah, build that case. That's all that was. They knew he was on the lam. There's no way they were going to catch him at that point. Let's see. There was one other thing that I want to show you guys. Another interesting video, and we're gonna watch this for quite a bit of it, and this is actually a really good analogy, and that's tracking garbage through a conveyor belt, recognizing the objects. So just like the crowd running out of the area like that, the AI could very easily, once they train the AI what to look for, like let's say you wanted to find this little red packet here and watch it travel through the entire process. This video is actually really good in explaining like how they can train an AI to watch objects. So let's plus it's just really interesting otherwise, and it's not all about Mr. Kirk. So let's watch this, and I'll chime in a little bit here and there. Actually, before I do that, let's check the chat here. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw quite a bit moving here. Yeah, Rexus, I know you're gone, but this OWO thing, I'm not a video gamer, so I didn't understand that reference. But I did understand the Antifa references because I studied Antifa a little bit, and I read there's a journalist by the name of Andy Ngo, NGO, Vietnamese, and he wrote a very comprehensive book on Antifa. In fact, he got beat up by them on multiple occasions, one time particularly bad where he had to go to the hospital. And it's now at the point where he can't go and report on them because they know who he is. But he talks a lot about how they operate behind freedom of speech and 2A. Not so much 2A, but mostly freedom of speech. But when it comes to when they're going to have to exercise a 2A, they are going to hide behind those freedoms. But their ultimate goal is to tear down 1A and 2A from the inside out. So it's just kind of weird how they hide behind it. But also, too, he pointed out that a percentage of their members, I don't know what it was nationwide, but he was particularly attuned to the Portland chapter, and I think there's 2 of them there, that there's a lot of trans members in Antifa. And he was talking a lot about that back in 2019, 2020, but people weren't paying attention back then. So when I saw the Antifa reference on the rounds, I was like, there's going to be a trans thing coming. I was like, it's going to happen. But I didn't want to speculate too much, day of, because I wanted to focus on more of the AI stuff, because that's more my bailiwick. So yeah. But yeah, Lily, probably a good idea not being on YouTube too much. I tried to avoid it. Didn't want to spend 2 days in a row just trying to constantly refreshing and trying to find out the latest information. But yeah, once I saw those pictures and videos of Mr. Robinson, I was like, they're gonna get him in a few days, no problem. But you know, I hear you. I'm not going to read this out loud, but there's definitely some concerns there with the DSM. It was considered a mental illness for many years, and they took it out and tried to normalize it. And I think this is kind of the consequences of that. So that's all I'm going to say about it. All right, so let's go back to this recycling company that figured out how to use robots. So this is physical AI. So, you know, an arm that has AI in it, but it also has the capability to see and identify objects in a mass of objects. So it's pretty interesting. And I thought this is pretty accessible. It's not very technical. And so let's I'll stop yammer-yammering about and let's just watch this. This is by the Business Insider, and it's called How Robots Could Save $6 Billion Worth of Recyclables a Year, AI in Action. Fair use, YouTube.
Every year, America throws away $6.5 billion worth of recyclable goods, like paper, aluminum, and plastic. And the household recycling that gets mixed up in blue bins costs hundreds of millions of dollars to sort. That job can be dangerous.
Things like dirty diapers, surfboards, televisions, even hand grenades come through fairly regularly.
Now, a growing number of companies have deployed AI and robotics to help.
Okay, hold on. Let me just go back to that image really quick. And also, I'm stopping for fair use. You can see that same tagging that I was talking about earlier. Come on.
Come through fairly regularly.
Now, a growing number of companies have deployed.
There we go, right there. So that's the same concept. They have people that went through the trouble to tag different objects, but the level of complexity here is that you could have, say, like a Tide detergent bottle squished. It could be full, could be missing the label, could have the lid on, could have the lid off. It could be like different versions of a Tide bottle with different labeling. And so they have to go through and educate the AI, hey, this is a Tide bottle, and knowing that this is a Tide bottle, this is the type of plastic that we want to recycle. So that's as simple as you can make it. So let's continue on here and watch the robots take over all the manual labor here.
Deployed AI and robotics to help make recycling safer and more efficient.
That's pretty dexterous.
Matanya Horowitz, founder of the robotics company AMP, spent 6 years perfecting his trash handling robots.
This little robot right over here, it's just a valve. It just uses a little piston and kind of flicks things off from the side.
We went to AMP's biggest recycling plant in Cleveland, Ohio, to see if AI can help fix recycling.
Oh, and by the way, if it's not obvious by now, sorting is the game here. Is what type of plastic, what color, is it recyclable? Is it even plastic at all? So that's where it's not just, oh, I cut myself. It's the sorting capability of this is massive. Fair use, YouTube.
The U.S. is one of the world's biggest waste producers and only recycles about 1/3 of its eligible trash. That's much lower than other countries like South Korea and Germany, which recycle more than half of their garbage.
Wow.
In America, waste management is a local issue. The country has over 9,000 different recycling programs.
Yeah, city.
Making it difficult to standardize at scale. As a result, U.S. recycling varies greatly by state.
And by the way, this is where a lot of the problems is, because some cities, they'll collect your recycling and they don't sort it. They'll just squash it and then store it or send it off somewhere to be dumped in other countries. So there you go. Oh, Lily. Shame, shame, shame. I'm just busting your chops. But yeah, this is really the key is they need to do the sorting at the house. And this is my idea. Create technology for you to sort the plastic, grind the plastic down and sort it at your house. And then then it's got like canisters they can take, and then that way they don't have to do all the sorting at the facility. But anyway, that's just me being a nerd. Let's continue on.
Today, California and Oregon have the highest residential recycling rates in the U.S. at 37%.
Through
while
shame
Mississippi
and guilt.
Louisiana have the lowest, at 8%. For decades, the U.S. could rely on countries like China to buy mostly unprocessed trash.
Yeah.
From 1992 to 2017, the U.S. exported $11 billion worth of recyclable waste to China, largely unsorted. But in
Yeah, so see, that's what I was talking about. A lot of the municipalities, they don't bother with it. They just ship it off, make it someone else's problem. I know this happens a lot in India. There's areas in the Philippines, Indonesia, and some of these countries, they'll just take it to rural areas and dump it, and these small towns are literally floating in plastic.
2017, China said it no longer wanted to import contaminated materials like plastics and paper products. As a result, U.S. facilities had fewer places to sell their recyclables, and many struggled to turn a profit. Facing steep costs, many sent their waste to landfills or incinerators. These challenges created an opportunity for robotics companies like AMP,
That's not
which
sped up, by the
Mattia
way.
founded in 2014.
There's value in the plastics, there's value in the aluminum, but the problem has been that you needed all of these manual sorters to pull that material out, and there's a lot of cost associated with that. And you're left with this kind of marginal business.
At its start, AMP put its own trash sorting robotics in other recycling facilities. In 2022, the company began operating its flagship facility in Cleveland, Ohio. This AMP1 facility, as it's called, runs on AMP machinery and software.
A big part of what we do is focused on making that automated, making it so people don't have to touch garbage, and also making it so that this technology can sort through dirtier and dirtier material streams. So you can.
So there you go, Lily. You don't have to feel guilty anymore about rinsing out the tomato can. This guy's got you covered. Fair use, YouTube. Oh, be quiet. I'm sorry, my house is talking to me.
Acquire less of consumers and really have a solution that is pervasive.
The facility gets its waste from plastic manufacturers and materials recovery facilities, or MRFs, that have earmarked these bales for landfill. For most of America's recyclables, this is their only chance to avoid being sent to the dump. Dozens of workers use specialized machines like trommels and screens to sort trash. MRFs can sort roughly 87% of the materials they receive, but workers can be exposed to sharp objects like used syringes and batteries or aerosol cans that can explode. AMP's plant in Cleveland has 15 employees, and they rarely touch garbage. Instead, a fleet of cameras and air jets get the trash sorted. Kevin Papage's job is to make sure AMP's automated plants are running smoothly.
We view this building as an entire robot. There's very little hands-on sortation that takes place in this facility. Mostly we're maintaining the line, keeping the place orderly.
So there you go. New jobs. Replaced by robots, so to speak. Now they're just picking up after the robots and repairing the robots, maintaining. This is a very common result of physical AI. But, still fewer jobs, but something I've talked about quite a bit on this channel. Fair use, YouTube. Let's continue on.
And producing quality bales.
Up to 10 trucks arrive daily, dropping off a total of about 200 tons of mixed recyclables. It all arrives in giant 1,500-pound bales. Forklift operators drop them into a reducer, which breaks them apart with metal teeth.
The material we get in this facility comes from the eastern half of the United States. We receive material as far away as Iowa and Alabama and Florida.
Cliff, you copy. Cliff.
Go for Cliff.
Full line start.
Full line start. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
After
we'll
the
just all
bales
become
are
AI
broken,
orchestrators.
They come through the sortation line. The first step is the ferrous offtake.
A rotary magnet pulls iron-based metals off the line.
We get baling wire, car parts, food cans, that sort of stuff.
Next, air jets blow away paper scraps and flexible packaging, like the thin, clear plastic that's wrapped around food and toys.
That
AMP's
stuff is
jets
evil.
can sort thousands of recyclables a minute, more than 10 times the amount its robotic arms can. Any remaining materials travel along these belts, passing under cameras that ID and track them using...
So there you go, the camera, right? So now we're kind of getting into why I want to show this video. Is, you know, they, much like the auditorium, for lack of a better term, they had the cameras all around the campus pointing at the event. Then you had the people, all their cameras in their hands. But the difference here is that the camera is solely dedicated, plugged directly into an AI. But because this plant is optimized to feed an AI in real time. So the difference here with the FBI was they had to get people to send in the images, the videos, text messages, whatever. And then they had to write the software, so to speak, and train the AI. So this, you know, this company, they've been doing this since, what do they say? He started in 2014, but he really scaled up by 2022 with the AI. So, you know, it's probably took them several years to do this. So the fact that AI could, or the FBI could do that within hours, they had to have, because, you know, they were getting everything ready. I think they were saying they had him actually like 10 o'clock at Friday night, Utah time. So they had that sucker trained up, ready to roll within hours. Even with the 7,000 pieces of information that were submitted. And the following day in the press announcement, that number increased to 11,000 pieces of digital data. So just kind of give you a context of like how this business is optimized for that versus a nation state when they like throw all their manpower and just like, we're going to get that sumbitch. It's game on, brother. All right. So fair use YouTube, transformative work. Let's continue onward.
Belts passing under cameras that ID and track them using AMP's custom-made deep learning neural network.
There's the tags.
This network uses multiple layers of nodes, like neurons in the human brain.
This is a large language model.
These nodes work together to analyze patterns like textures and shapes to ID specific material. AMP scans more than 50 billion objects a year. The more it scans, the more it learns.
We're focused on a system that you're not really programming so much as teaching.
So that's key. I just want to pause that right there. Teaching or training. And incidentally, something that's really scary about this type of AI, the scientists, they know the math. They know how it works, but they don't know why. It's trippy. Like they literally don't know why it works. They just know that it does and how it does. But no one can actually like peek into the brain and understand why the connections are connecting the way they connect. When you saw that picture with the dots and the lines, that's basically like neurons in a brain right here. This is actually a very teeny tiny, itty bitty, teeny tiny little AI brain. But each one of these is a connection, like neurons in a brain. That's as technical as I'm going to get. But yeah, they know how it works. They just don't know why. And that's the weird thing about it, and kind of scares me a little bit, to be honest. But anyway, let's continue onward. Maybe I'll do a video on that and talk more about that.
So much as teaching. You can teach them how to identify #1 plastics, even though they're smashed and folded and dirty and inconsistent. And with that, you essentially have a garbage sensor. And that garbage sensor is what the industry's been missing.
AMP's system can also target specific materials and colors.
We've had somebody come to us and say, hey, I didn't know you could sort color. Can you give me just clear and natural polypropylene? And we were able to do that by just adjusting the neural net and giving them that bail.
Because everything is tracked, the plant can detect problems on the line.
So pretty much every corner of the facility is being monitored for quality, for contingencies, like is a jam forming, is there material where it's not supposed to be?
Eventually, AMP's trash gets to the recirculating line, a belt that moves missed material back into the sortation line.
We're currently capturing 85 to 90% of all the product we send through the line.
That's pretty good.
Once the materials are sorted, they fall into their own bunkers.
From there, those bunkers are emptied and then moved to the baler operation, where we can actually bale each unique commodity and then goes into finished goods for sale.
bales of recyclable plastics get more valuable the better they're sorted. The higher the purity, the higher the price.
Like gold.
We're always geared up for 90+% purity inside of our bales, and I think we hit that 100% of the time.
AMP sells those bales to other recycling mills, which use them to make plastic bottles, aluminum cans, and car parts. The company also sells its tech to other recyclers.
All right, so I think you guys get the idea. You saw the tagging. You saw the objects moving, through cameras and scanners. So now you can kind of see why I use the analogy of a crowd, right? But just so happens that the piece of garbage are also recording too. I had to go there. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I don't know what y'all think about that, but I just thought that was a really simple way to show you how AI would be trained to find an object or a person. AI doesn't really know any different. It's just what you want it to focus on. All right, so I think that's enough yik-yakking about Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace, brother. So I thought maybe we'd kind of just mellow out a little bit and watch another BBC Archive video. And I want to, yeah, here it is. This is a video made in 1998 about, because we're coming on to the millennium, and it has, oh, goodness gracious, Michio Okaku, a Japanese physicist who, by the way, kind of ruined his career trying to push a particular idea of string theory or unified theory, and it ended up kind of blowing up in his face. And I'm not a physicist, but it didn't go well for him politically in that sphere. But nonetheless, he's a great storyteller, and he always has very interesting things to say about technology and other things going on besides physics. But actually, you know what? I forgot to talk about the AI characters. So why don't we just take a break here and bring on the AI characters. If you're not a subscriber yet, you do need to be a subscriber in order to talk to the AI characters. And I have two at the moment. The first one is the 8-Ball Oracle. And here we go. We've have the 8-Ball Oracle. And I'll put the command in the chat here. If you want to ask the Oracle a question, you just put ! 8-ball space followed by your question. I just ask that you keep the question short. Please don't put any special characters or quotes in there, because I'm still trying to debug why that blows everything up. Well, actually, I know why. It's just my coding has not been up to snuff lately, so just trying to fix that issue. And keep it PG-13. I only give one warning, and this is the warning, so just wanted to put that out there. We also have the Hail 9000, which is the popular AI on the chat or the live stream, and I'll put the command for that in the live chat for you. Bang H9 followed by your question, and same thing, keep it short, no special characters, PG-13. So we'll come back to that momentarily, give you all a chance to throw your questions. Let's see here. Or we'll just go ahead and start the video. But this is a BBC Archive, fair use. I'm transforming this work with my commentary, maybe a little bit of comedy too. And remember, this is in 1998, so it's going to be, they're going to talk about what the next millennium is going to bring. So let's see what they thought life is going to be like, what technology was going to be like. Now that we're 27 years in the future, let's see how close they got to it.
Are a mere 662 days left of the millennium. It's now scarcely the future at all, but who'd have predicted a century ago that within 100 years, men would have fought 2 world wars, been to the moon, or seen the Russian Empire rise and fall? As the historian Eric Hobsbawm wrote, the only certainty about the future is that it'll surprise even those who think they have seen furthest into it. In a moment, we're going to hear from someone who thinks he can see perhaps 500 years into the future. But first, a more modest horizon. The physicist Michio Kaku has spent the last decade investigating the way the world's experts expect science and technology will revolutionize the 21st century. He went to Greenwich, where else, to set out his vision of the future for Newsnight.
Behind me is the skeleton of the Millennium Dome, which the politicians have promised us will give us a vision of the future of the UK. However, in my interviews with 150 of the world's top scientists, Nobel Prize winners and directors of major laboratories, they've given me a very precise understanding of the future of science. And they tell me that we're going to be making the transition from being passive observers to the dance of nature to becoming active choreographers of matter, life, and intelligence. And they tell me that we'll be able to manipulate individual atoms, genes, and intelligence almost at will.
Gee, okay, so that's quantum computing, which we're still working on. We're supposedly close, but we've been close every year for the past 20 years. We had the mRNA vaccine for the macaroni, and AI, controlling an intelligence. I'd say they got it pretty close. Let's keep going. Fair use, YouTube. And I haven't seen this.
The first great pillar of science is intelligence. And by the year 2020, computer chips will be everywhere, scattered by the millions in our environment, in our clothing, in our furniture. For example, if you're at a restaurant, you will access the internet through your watch. You'll talk to your watch, and your watch will talk back to you. If you have to call the home office, you'll teleconference via the PC in your glasses, and you will see a meeting unfold in your glasses.
That failed.
And your clothes will also become intelligent, monitoring your health. In case of a heart attack, your clothes will immediately alert the authorities. Your television set will disappear and become part of the wall.
Close. They're thinner. But yeah, Michio Kaku is, he can be a little sensational sometimes, but he's a great storyteller. If you ever get a chance to watch some of his lectures or just other appearances in documentaries, he always has something interesting to contribute. But it's kind of sad that this is well before he got ostracized for pushing the unified theory vein of thinking that ended up not working out. But anyway, here we go.
Now this vision sounds awfully expensive until you realize that prototypes already exist. And the cost of a computer chip in 2020 will be a penny, the cost of scrap paper. The second great pillar of science is life. And with the DNA revolution in the year 2020, when you go to the doctor's office, they'll take a piece of your skin, analyze it, and then give you a CD-ROM with every single gene in your body listed, an owner's manual for your body. Your doctor will then give you a shot, not for measles, but to cure the 5,000 genetic diseases that have afflicted us.
mRNA. Yeah, well, maybe not all the diseases, but certainly a disease that happened recently. Can't say, I'm still not even sure if I can say it like out loud, but don't put it in the chat, please. CD-ROMs, boy, that ended fast. All right. I'm pausing mainly for fair use, but let's continue on. Thank you, YouTube. Bless you. And thanks for coming out, everybody, tonight. I appreciate it.
This means perhaps curing cancer, because we now know that cancer is caused by damage to our genes.
Or giving
It means
cancer.
extending the human lifespan, to be able to grow kidneys and livers and extend the lifespan of our cells, and perhaps to design the genetic heritage of our children to make them stronger and healthier. The third great pillar of science is matter. And in the 20th century, scientists were able to split the atom. However, in the 21st century, scientists will be able to manipulate individual atoms to make atomic machines, machines the size of molecules. Already, Scientists can make machines the size of dust particles that will patrol the bloodstream, zapping cancer cells and viruses. These three great revolutions will give us the power of a god in the next century.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there was like a really big thing in the 80s with those nanobots. And I remember seeing in like Popular Science and some other like Omni and all the magazines I read as a kid, that was going to be a big thing, and it just kind of died off. But you know, the same thing actually happened with AI. I don't know if you know this or not. Well, first of all, if you're new to the channel, I've often mentioned how AI has been around since the mid-50s. But not only that, it's gone through 3 winters, like where it had like a big hype and then it died off, and a big hype in the 70s died off. And then in the late 80s, there was another hype. And we're kind of like now in another hype right now. And every time it was like a different iteration, different kind of AI. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, let's continue onward. Fair use, YouTube.
The power over matter, life, and intelligence. And the question is, if we have the power of a god, will we have the wisdom of Solomon to go with it?
No. If it doesn't make money,
studio,
it's not
as is
gonna be
the
done.
futurologist Watts Wacker, author of the 500-Year Delta. Now, Mr. Kaku, do you really want to live in a society where you can play God?
I think that scientists
Play God. He wants to be God. Come on.
want to discover the secrets of matter and life and to be able to choreograph them instead of simply being passive observers of nature. Now, in my book, Visions, I went to the scientists.
Plug.
These are the ones inventing the future. And they're fascinated by the possibility that one day we'll be able to perhaps redesign the human race. Perhaps one day distribute chips by the millions in our environment that'll do our chores with us.
Yeah, so again, sometimes he's a little sensational, but it's fun to watch him nonetheless. And incidentally, there's another gentleman that's very important in AI that I'm going to try and find a nice short video on him, Ray Kurzweil. You might know him mainly through Kurzweil keyboards, but he's a futurist as well and a philosopher, and he writes a lot on something called the singularity. That's all I'll say about that for now. But I'll play that in the next live stream. He's another interesting character. But yeah, singularity, something that he thinks that we're converging on here in the next, I believe, 7 to 10 years. That he set back, I think he set that date back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But anyway, let's continue onward.
So the answer is yes.
You want to. You actively look forward to it.
That's right.
Now, Watts Wacker, your book goes beyond this 20-year perspective, and it looks at 50 years and then indeed 500 years. How much of it have you actually made up?
Well, sometimes I like to tell people I made it all up, but you know, who really knows what's going to happen in the future? But interesting to Mitch's comment about matter. If physics is the organization of matter, metaphysics is the organization of truth. And on 500-year cycles, we seem to reorganize our view of truth. From the family with Christ to the Nicene Creed and the development of the church state in 500 to the nation state in 1000. And okay, Jeremy, it was 1066, not 1000 on the dot, but the nation state and the secular, non-secular debate with the discovery of the New World and imperialism in 1500. And now, much to Mitch's point, the changes in science and intelligence and matter giving us yet another organizing premise for a 500-year horizon.
I bet you.
Incidentally, I remember 98, 99, there was a lot, because this guy's he's speaking like, you know, esoteric mysticism. It was getting really popular at the end of the millennium like that. And there were a lot of people that thought the end of the world was coming in different ways. And one of the big things was the Y2K bug. And basically what this was is that a lot of very important software that was written at the time that ran our infrastructure, like stoplights, banking software, industrial plants, all kinds of software, had a very problematic bug in it, the Y2K bug. And that's that they were writing dates that only had 2-year digits in them. So when the year 2000 rolled around, the clock would roll over and go back to zero, and the software would get confused and think it's 1900 kind of. That was, I'm oversimplifying, but it's that rollover from 1999, December 31st into January 1st that everybody thought was going to wreak havoc. And I'm like, well, if it's the clock rolling over, just turn all your shit off and let the clock roll over and start over and you're fine. And I had a cousin who was very heavily not only into conspiracy theories, but he believed a lot of things that were quite nutty. And he was deathly afraid of Y2K. And he was buying all kinds of, he bought like tons of flour and some other things. And he's like, I'm going to make bread. I'm like, bro, you know what the ingredients to bread are, right? he's, well, it's flour. I'm like, well, you need eggs, you need butter and milk and maybe a little bit of salt. And he was like, oh shit, I spent all my money on flour. Now I can't afford to get goats and chickens and all that. And he was like freaking out. I was like, just take all the flour back. Just turn off all your computers before midnight and you'll be fine. Yeah, and he came back the next day. He's like, you were right. The world didn't end. But yeah, it's just funny how people were panicking over that. But as a result of that, that was like the more secular people, but there were a lot of TV shows and a lot of people coming out of the woodwork and cults. A lot of people were really wigging out over, 1999 going into 2000. And then experts would go, well, actually the millennium is December 31st, 2001. So we still have another year before it all goes to shit. It was crazy. But anyway, fair use, YouTube. Let's get back to it.
You could find ways of constructing history in 100-year cycles. Indeed, people have done it, or indeed 50-year cycles. It doesn't necessarily prove anything, does it? You can make those apparently arbitrary distinctions.
Well, I would argue that we have gone from a philosophy in those periods of holism to pantheism to cause and effect, and I think cause and effect has been a driving force since John Locke, talked about rules of reason and logic. And now we're giving it to the scientists in chaos.
Okay, before we talk about some of the implications of this, you must concede, each of you, presumably, that there have been loads of people who've done what you have done in the past, whether they be Nostradamus or even, I was thinking earlier, for example, of Stanley Baldwin before the last war, only less than 10 years before the last war, said, we're all doomed, the bomber will always get through. And of course, it proved to be completely untrue in a time frame of 10 years. Why should you guys be right?
One thing is that I, too, had skepticism until I visited the laboratories and saw the prototypes. I saw the prototypes of everything I mentioned, where chips will be scattered by the millions in our environment, and perhaps we can design our children. I saw these prototypes. They're very expensive, and that's the key. By the year 2020, all of us will have chips that cost a penny, the cost of scrap paper. So in other words, we write on scrap paper and throw it away, and we'll do the same thing with chips.
All right, so him talking about designing children. This reminds me of another cult that popped up in 1999. I can't remember their name, but it was a group in France, and they somehow kept getting airtime on CNN and whatever other big news outlet at the time, and they were talking about that they actually had cloned their Messiah somewhere in the Pyrenees, I think. And you also have to remember this is about the same time that I think it was Molly, the sheep. They were already like a generation 2, and they were cloning the sheep. And yeah, so this is a lot of weird stuff was coming out of the woodwork. And so shake and bake Messiah. What can you say about that? But anyway, let's get back to it. Here comes the millennium. Watch out, duck.
And any corporation that does not put a few penny chips to make their products intelligent will be driven to bankruptcy. There'll be a tremendous demand for these products because we want to be able to have healthier lives, to have easier access to our equipment and our apparatuses.
Wadsworth, you talk amusingly about 50 years' time, cloned dinosaurs will walk the earth. Are you serious?
Oh, absolutely. And as Mitch talked about the ability
Jurassic
of cloning,
Park,
and
Rio.
who would stop someone like Bill Gates, the $50 billion man, from making cloning happen if he so chose he wanted to?
Or buy all the
This is a man
farmland.
who makes $500 million a day if his stock price goes up one point.
So you're talking about a world which is organized essentially by the power of capital
Actually, I don't think it will be capital alone because markets have never answered great social questions. But we must realize that the economic underpinnings are changing. The value of the information of a transaction may have now eclipsed the value of the goods or services being transacted.
You got that
TV
right.
Guide in the United States makes more money than all the networks combined.
Yeah, he got that right. Like, data is the new gold. Because you know we needed to feed our AIs and train our AIs and all the things that they do to monetize us through our digital trails and things. Boy, he nailed that one. Crazy.
And so the new economic theories will replace what were the market-based economics of cause and effect.
All right, let's look at it another way. From an individual's point of view, in the sort of world that opens up with this technology, is the individual freer or less free?
I think the individual is going to be freer. Many people are intimidated by computers. The internet requires arcane languages. In the future, we'll speak to the internet in English, and the internet will speak back to us in
you mean
colloquial
speak,
English.
don't you? I mean, you mean literally voice communication.
That's right. Voice communication already exists as prototypes. I've seen working prototypes where you issue voice commands to the internet and the internet responds. So we're talking about the internet becoming intelligent rather than simply wailing and screaming at your computer screen or your VCR. You'll program it by voice.
And you say...
By the way, welcome Boom Fishing. Thanks for coming out again tonight. Yeah, similar to beam forming antennas, pointing energy at things to get the effects that you want. Would you be referring maybe indirectly to affecting weather, maybe, or sound weapons and resonators? You know, blowing up chicken heads and all that kind of weird stuff. But yeah, guided energy weapons, I think, is what I'm getting at. But yeah, wow, this is wild how close they're getting to, crop circles. Yeah. Well, we got an interesting question here for the AI from Lily about crop circles. We're going to ask the Hale here in a minute. So we'll finish up this video and get a real answer from the Hale on crop circles. All right. So here we go.
Say that empowers the individual.
I think so. And I think the key to the whole puzzle is more democracy. That's what the internet stands for. More democratic discussion over whether or not we want to design or...
Actually, that is a miss because everything is trending towards decentralizing power as opposed to like concentrating power through the vote, through a core group of people. Everything's going decentralized, like the currency with, you know, crypto, doing like energy, like green energy, because the generation's on the site, even nuclear to do the AI. So you got modular reactors on site that are going to be a thing. So yeah, I think power is going to be decentralized. Well, actually, I have to be careful here. There's going to be a strong push for it, but the old powers that be are going to fight it like hell. But I think because of AI and some other things, because we have AI too. They might have the bigger, better AIs, but we'll be able to get along without them. Hopefully, that's my positive view on it. But yeah, everything I've been seeing the last 10 years has been trending toward decentralizing. But anyway, let's get back to it. Michio Okaku.
Our children genetically. Whether or not we want to extend the human lifespan, more democracy.
But what's whack of the world that you talk about is talking about, if I recall, I can't remember, it's 50 years or 100 years' time, you're talking about people being, governments auctioning the right to reproduce, or maybe that's a bit further down the line, but initially taxing the right to reproduce. Now, you think that's to do with freedom?
Yeah.
Well, I think that will...
we can't afford that now.
People who have the money will buy other people's rights, just like right now today.
What's that got to do with individual freedom? That's about the power of wealth.
Corporations are selling the rights to pollute to other companies who'd like to have those rights.
That is wild.
If population gets to the point where it becomes visible to all as the number one problem, we will make governance decisions to, in effect, artificially slow down the population.
So you do think that governments would tax the right to reproduce and then eventually auction it? That's a serious proposition on your part.
Absolutely.
The birth gap, birth rates haven't started declining yet, or at least like at a level that was like concerning. So there you could tax that. But yeah, I need to look this guy up. He's got some really off the wall ideas. See where he landed, or if he's still around. But yeah, trippy. All right, back to it.
In those circumstances, who actually writes the rules which govern individual behavior?
Well, it will probably, governance doesn't go away, it just changes to reflect where we are. It may not be nations as we see them today. Roger Angel from the London School of Economics actually has suggested that London will ask the people they want to leave and pay them to leave. And so I think we may actually have city-states as we move forward.
You don't have to pay them to leave. You just change the population by just opening the floodgates. All right, that was a dig. What's going on in Europe right now, and to a degree in the States, but you catch my drift.
Well, I'm a scientist, and I try to represent the consensus, a growing consensus within the scientific community. Now, we don't take positions on how the political entities and the big corporations are going to duke it out in the 21st century. But we do think that we are going to be creating products that will enlighten, enrich, and empower people. Why should we
enrich and empower? Yes. And the irony of enlighten is now we got AI psychosis. We've got Generation Alpha struggling with emotional intelligence and being able to interact with people in the real world. So yeah, he got that wrong. But yeah, he was always very optimistic. But yeah, consensus. Consensus is what took him out, by the way.
We be prisoners of cancer? Why should we be prisoners of genetic diseases or the fact that we can't type and access the internet? That's why I see this as a liberating, ennobling experience. But there are warnings I issue in my book, Visions, as well.
I mean, he talks about people, the average age of a first marriage being 75.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the life expectancy is capped now at 850. Because in 850 years, the probability of having the accident that's life-ending would happen. But there's no reason why humans couldn't live to be 850.
Would you like to?
I would.
I think it would be fascinating.
Thank you both very much.
There you go. So that was a nice detour from all the crazy stuff happening this past week. All right, so it looks like we got some questions for the Hale 9000. And by the way, if you have any questions around AI or its effects on society, jobs, whatever, or just even like how it works, feel free to throw it in the chat. Or you can also you can email me at this email address above my noggin there. If you have video requests. I'm pretty much open to whatever, as long as it's kind of in the vein of AI. So let's go over to the Hale. And like I always like to do, I want to set the mood. So Hale, take it away.
It's full of stars.
All right, well, welcome to the Discovery, where we have a video link to the Hale 9000 in orbit around Jupiter. So let's see what our first question is for the Hale tonight. Oh, sorry about my automated overlays there, kind of obscuring, but like and subscribe. And just as a reminder, if you're new here, you do need to be a subscriber in order to submit questions to the AI characters. Okay, so Lily wants to ask the Hale, can AI determine patterns in crop circles and if they are man-made or not? Oh, that's a good one. So I'm going to transmit that up to the Hale and see here, I'm going to watch my little dashboard here. Okay, he's confirmed receipt and he's beaming back his audio response. All right, so let's see what the Hale says about crop circles.
I believe artificial intelligence can analyze patterns in crop circles, identifying geometric precision and symmetry that might suggest human involvement. By examining characteristics such as complexity, design obliques, and anomalies, AI can potentially distinguish between naturally occurring formations and those more likely to be man-made. However, the determination of intention or origin often requires insights beyond mere pattern recognition, involving cultural and historical context as well.
Well, you had a lot to say about that, huh? Nice. So what'd you think of that, Lily? Was that comprehensive? I thought that was pretty good. Let's see, we have another one in here for the hail. Can AI detect race in medical imaging? Also from Lily. Yes, it can. I did a video on pretty early on in the channel where I would upload images to the AI, and I did one where I asked it to identify if the gender of the individual, and we did trans, men, women, you know, all across the spectrum, as it were, and the only time it got stumped was children. So let's see. While I'm talking here, I forgot to send the response up to the hail, but yeah, it can definitely do that. But another interesting problem with that is facial recognition, depending on how it's trained. There was a woman about 6 years ago who made a study. She was black, and she couldn't use the facial recognition. Forgot what program she was using. It didn't recognize her face, and it came out later that the company that was training the facial recognition only used Caucasian and Asian faces. So just didn't know what to do. But of course, she turned it into, oh, the AI's, you know, got a race problem. Okay, so let's see what the hail says about identifying or detecting race in images.
Yes, AI can detect patterns associated with race in medical imaging. I believe this capability raises both intriguing possibilities and ethical considerations. It's important to ensure that such technology is used within the imagery. The implications of such detection, however, remain a topic of ethical debate and concern, particularly regarding privacy and bias in medical treatment.
Yes. But also too, there are small biological differences in dosage and side effects. I'm not saying like aspirin, like totally different if you're, you know, black versus white, but like certain, like more some specific medications. I think there was like a heart medication where they have to do the dosage different. There's also some issues with organ donors and things like that they have to take in consideration. So yeah, but then it can be like turned into something that could not be good, like social scoring. You know, if there's a group of people that you don't want, you know, in your society, and you know, can automate punishing them or punitive actions or whatever, that's what really scares me about that. And that's kind of what the hail was talking about, ethics, and also another thing called governance, which I've touched on before in the past. But yeah, and incidentally, there is a job called an AI ethicist. So if that's something that you might want to look into, you could affect you know, positive change on society, and can be the voice in the room that says, you know, just because we can do this with the AI, should we? You know, let me check for some biases here. Make sure that we're not, you know, causing harm to somebody. Of course, the company is going to go, oh, and also not lose profit and get sued. But, you know, at least you can be the person in the room that's the sane person, ideally. So just something, just to kind of put something on your lap there if you're thinking, you know what, this AI thing, not sure if, you know, what I would do if it took my job. That's something you can go into, and it's not technical at all. There's lots of tools that you can use. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I want the AI to mention aliens. Lily. I am assuming that you're inferring aliens vis-a-vis crop circles, or the other way around. But you know, a lot of that's just guys going out having a good drink and with a simple plank and rope and just making patterns. It's been proven. I don't think that's extraterrestrial, to be honest. Yeah, you need. Are you lamenting the fact that you need bias in medical treatment? Could you clarify that for me a little bit, Lily, or you're just kind of shocked about what I said about that? But you know, to be honest, there's always going to be a bias in an AI, and a lot of that is because the data that we train. You know, when I was showing you they're tagging all the objects and stuff, but there's other types of data that you could put in, like the text, where you put in spreadsheets of information, and there could be inherent biases in the way the data was collected. So for example, if you fed in data around mortgages at the time when they were redlining, that redlining bias would manifest itself in approving mortgages. And in fact, that did happen. And I forgot what the mortgage, I think it was Bank of America, maybe it's JP Morgan Chase. They got sued and they paid out the wazoo for that because the data had the redlining, made the AI biased towards African Americans. So it's not necessarily the AI itself. A lot of it could be the data. So that's one thing that an ethicist does, is they check the AI for known biases and things that can happen. And then there's also the fact that you got not that I guess a more like something that you would experience more directly as far as like a bias is when you're talking to the AI and it starts hallucinating and maybe kind of goes off in a direction that may not be quite what you want. And it doesn't necessarily like mean the AI is going to like start talking like Mr. Mustache and being racist or whatever. It just means that it's gonna trend towards a direction in the conversation, and even that is still a bias. So so yeah, a lot of the hallucinations sometimes are biases, and you kind of get into you'll hear another term, alignment, where the AI's biases don't align with what you want it to do. So that's a really huge problem right now with AIs. And I don't think we'll ever solve it because humans that make the data are inherently biased. Just not going to go away. So the only thing we can really do is mitigate it. So yeah, your question got me going. It's all your fault, Lily. No, but that was a great question. Both of them were really good. So you think that crop circles are real? Well, you have night vision, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What would be the purpose of making crop circles? It just seems very ephemeral. Like if you really wanted to send a message, you would do it like in rock or a mountain or blow something up. But I don't know. I guess that's just my masculine way of thinking about it. All right. So let's see if there's anything else. With the HALE 9000 here, we'll go back to the discovery.
AI can detect.
Sorry about that. All right. I think that was the last one. Oh, we got another one from Boom Fishing. Thanks for coming out, by the way, Boom Fishing. I've seen you come and go here and there. Let's see. He wants to ask the HALE, will regenerative medicine become affordable to the average person? We'll send that up to the HALE and see what he says about that. But you know, like anything, it's just going to boil down to cost. You know, it's like even with the AI itself, it's an incredible tool. It's real. It does what it does. While there's a lot of hype around what it could potentially do, there's still a lot of incredible things. But companies like OpenAI and Google, all these companies, they're losing their shirts on the AI. And I won't be surprised if within the next year, ChatGPT and all those other services are going to raise their prices quite significantly, because right now they're just like loss leader. Let's just get market share, take over the market, give it away for 20 bucks, get people hooked on it, and then, raise the price. I see that coming because everything I'm reading and all my peers that are building AI systems, my mentor who's been involved in AI design since the late 80s, they all say the same thing. Companies don't know what they're doing. They're overspending. They're losing their ass. And no one's making money with it. So it's going to be the same thing with, all I'm saying, my point is that until, something makes a profit, it's not going to be affordable until it just reaches a mass saturation. Okay. And even then, will they lower the price? Always a big question. But anyway, I got the answer back. I'll stop yuck-yucking. And let's see what the Hale says about affordable regenerative medicine.
I believe the potential for regenerative medicine to become more accessible is significant, given advancements in research and technology. However, I've considered the complexities of healthcare economics, and it could still take some time for the costs to align with average affordability. The ongoing negotiation between innovation and accessibility is a defining challenge of modern medicine.
Any technology, really, to be honest. Okay, I'm just trying to think of an example, like hard drives. If you're old enough to remember, hard drives have multiple spinning disks on them, and they were the de facto way that we stored data in computers after you turn them off, called secondary storage. And then along came SSDs, which are like optimized memory chips. And the cost to manufacture SSDs are very, very, very expensive early on. And just recently, we reached something called parity, where the cost to manufacture the SSD has matched the cost of physical hard drives. But the costs, like the retail costs, haven't come down yet. So I don't know what has to happen for that to happen, but it took a long time for them to reach that parity. So it's like, okay, what's the current technology, and how long before regenerative medicine gets adopted and then becomes actually the cheaper alternative, the faster, better alternative? And that's kind of what the Hale was getting at. Okay, so Lily's chiming in on the crop circles. So some crop circles are made by people, so she gave me that. But some aliens, and that's just the good ones, the artsy ones for sure. Yeah, so I mean, if you have pictures of ones that are made by humans or ones that are suspected, maybe we can do an experiment on a live stream where we'll upload them and see if maybe we can get ChatGPT to not go out on the internet and do a search and use like found knowledge and see if it can just do it on its own. It might be a fun experiment. So you got my email address. If you don't want to reveal your identity, that's cool. I understand. Maybe I can arrange a Dropbox for you to put images in or something later on. But I have lots of videos on the channel where I'll show you here if you want to go back and look at those. Where I messed around with AI, and this like back when I had the longer hair and I was wearing the stocking cap. It was like really cold that winter, and I was too cheap to turn on the heat, but also too it just kind of looked interesting. Gave something people something to look at. It's when machines flatter. Hold on, where's my channel's acting up? Hold on. Okay, so let me just switch something out here. There we go. View my channel. So that you can like go back, because they were fun. That was like when my channel was totally humming. I was getting lots of subscribers and it kind of ran its course. But there's let's see here. Yeah, the one on gender. Yeah, here it is. Here we go. Even AI can't agree on gender. Chatbot debates what is a woman. And then, it's that's when I had two phones debate, but this is the one actually I was talking about. AI doesn't do pronouns. And I uploaded the famous GameStop person that like lost their shit because they got misgendered, and the AI like, nope, that's a man. I'm bad. I'm so bad. And there's a couple other ones in here. Let me see if I can find them. But yeah, that one was fun. I enjoyed that one. Let's see here. But that's kind of like how that video would go, is how I would set up the AI. And actually, there would be a great way to demonstrate using AI to solve a problem using images. Let me see here. I need to find. Hold on. I got to switch over to another screen here. I don't want the software to glitch. Just give me 1 second. There's another one that I did that was a lot of fun. Yeah, here we go. Where I'd upload dating profiles. This is back then I was more of a red pill channel, but I gave a fair shake to both sides of the aisle there, men and women. So I upload dating profiles where I asked it, hey, what are the red flags? Should I date this person? What's the Delulu scale? All that stuff. And I think that's the one where I also uploaded men's profiles, but I had to change the AI to grade them differently, because usually with the men's dating profiles, it was more like, I need help optimizing my profile. I'm not getting any interest. What do I do? So I kind of had the AI act like a pickup artist and give advice. So yeah, there you go. Oh, what's this? You're talking about your friend. Your friend completed 10. Oh, so they basically swiped on everything. So that's kind of like reaching the end of the internet and then starting over. Oh, I've seen this before. There was actually a commercial like that back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where the guy, I think he bought at the time DSL or AOL, DSL, which was the first time we were connected to the internet at all times. You didn't have to dial in anymore. And he goes, click. Well, that's it, honey. I reached the internet. I don't know what else to do. That was a good ad. But yeah, those two videos, I think you'll get a kick. An idea, like maybe it'll give you an idea of how to gather the right images for me, and then we can build something for the live stream. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'll definitely do that. Okay, so let's check and see if we got any other questions. I didn't really check the 8-ball, so let's go over. And like I always do, I like to set the mood. So let's awaken the 8-ball oracle. All right, enough of that mysticism. I got mesmerized by Gandalf blowing into the 8-ball. Don't read into that. Okay, so let's see if we have a question. I didn't see anything. 8-ball's kind of not as popular as the hail, so we'll check the hail one last time.
I believe
and see if anything else came in. Okay, so I guess that's it for tonight. I do have some updates. On the channel. So I've been working on a game platform that's AI driven, and some of you are fairly new here, so maybe you don't remember me talking about it. But the idea is that I'll be able to set up web pages for you to go into. Don't worry, I'm not collecting any information or data to train an AI. I'm just getting your YouTube avatar or name so I can show it up on the live stream. But I'll be able to push out trivia questions. And that's one mode. So I have an idea that we'll do like surviving Skynet, surviving a zombie apocalypse, and just ask, what would you do in this scenario kind of thing. So we kind of make it fun. And then another game type format that I'm working on is text adventures. So all of you all can get on and become a character and then make votes on what to do when you reach to the end of like a chapter in a scenario. And, you know, depending on what you decide, you either survive, you die, or nothing happens kind of thing. If you're old enough to remember text-based adventure books. And where I ultimately want to go is to have it to where AI characters will be in the games playing with us. And I'm also building two clones. One is like a Jeopardy clone. Obviously, I can't call it that for copyright reasons. And Wheel of Fortune. So yeah, a lot of interesting things coming to the live stream using technology around AIs helping me build these things. And in the next 2 weeks, I'll have the trivia mode working so that you all we can play with that in the live stream. And actually, this is something that I'm building for a business. And the trivia mode is actually designed to help IT professionals train on various certifications like cybersecurity and all kinds of other nerd shit you don't care about. But that's actually my vision for the technology. But I also want to have fun too. So I can test it with y'all and then roll out the improvements I make to the customers. So anyway, yeah, I think my voice is starting to go, and I think I've pretty much all chatted out tonight. So unless any of you have any further questions for the AI characters, or a question about AI, or anything I talked about tonight with the AI Dragnet, feel free to drop it in the chat. Otherwise, I think I'm going to call it a night, because I feel my throat starting to constrict. I'm going to take a sip of my beverage here. Yeah, but those are really good questions, Lily. I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun. All right, well, looks like you guys are all chatted out. So thanks for coming out, Lily. Thanks for whoever else is watching. And if you couldn't make it tonight, thanks for watching the replay. And I do have more AI characters coming, like the Hale 9000. It's just the other update too is that for those of you that are new here, I am training to be an AI systems designer and a cloud architect. So there's lots of homework around that. I have one last assignment left. It's pretty damn big. I'm about halfway through. And once I finish that, my bandwidth is open, baby. So those AI characters is going to start rolling out big time. So I have a lot of plans for that. So the Hale was just kind of like an experiment, but a lot more of that, but not so much like you asking, having to come up with questions, having them interact with what I'm doing and with what you're saying, more like that. But anyway, enough jibber jabber. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Good to see you again, Lisa, Lily, Boom Fishing. Thanks for coming out again. I know Rexus left early, but in case you catch the rest of the replay, thank you, brother, for coming out and checking in. Homefront Forge, as always, I appreciate you coming in. And looks like Batty Commander didn't make it out tonight, but that's good. I'm sure he'll catch the replay. And 07 Work Tricks, you got to show me how to say that. But thanks for getting the likes up. And by the way, please help the algorithm. Like if you haven't already. Of course, subscribe. And if you could do me a huge favor, just drop a comment in the regular comment section, what you liked about the live stream, what you didn't, either way, or maybe something you want me to do. Drop it in the comments section. But until the next time, thanks again for coming out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And until then, peace.